Really, since we have been here and been installing the defense, we've been installing it against Miami's offense, and now we've got to transition to go play against these other teams. And so it's mentally, you see some guys that can handle that quite easily, and some guys are still a step behind.
Manny, where do you stand with the starting corner battle between Adrian and Sheldrick at this point?
It's still back and forth. I don't really think we want to make a call on that because we don't want the competition to end, So I think that's something that we still continue to evaluate every day. Certainly we need all those guys to play, and we will roll all those guys, but in terms of who trots out there first, still really undecided.
Have those two both had good camps? Would you like to see more from either one?
Well, I mean, as a coach, you're always going to want to see more. I think overall you would consider their camps as being positive. But they play a position where there's just such little margin for error, and again, a guy like Colbert who has, you can tell his age and experience, the urgency of knowing that this is my last go around. A guy like Redwine who we really like, but all of a sudden has been, like as we say, we hold him to a standard that he's an older guy, and you have to remind yourself that he's only been here for a year. So, but we need them both to have a chance.
What about the fourth safety, I guess, who has kind of flashed? Has anybody emerged in that spot for you?
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. It goes back and forth. We have been pleased by the development of Robert Knowles and how he has improved since the time he's been here, going from where we started off in spring practice. Because as we start trying to make some decisions on some sub packages and going with some extra defensive backs on the field, a lot of times your comfort level with that is based off of who can go in the game behind them. So Robert's done well. Certainly we were pleased to see the plays that Romeo made yesterday, but it's still, in terms of being able to handle just what offenses are throwing at you, not even the complexity of a defense. It's just defense is defending something. And so what seeing all these things and the high tempo offenses that we've got coming at us, we need those guys to be able to be game ready, and that's still a different step.
Obviously, it's going to be a week by week thing with how you defend teams, but with what you have with your nickel defense right now, what you potentially could have when you do gain the starting lineup, do you feel comfortable that could be a defense that you play more often than just kind of against a passing team? Is that strong enough to be on the field a lot?
It really, you don't know, because if we have 5 defensive backs on the field, are they going to play every snap against a tempo offense? Okay, well then who goes in when they're not in? So is the nickel a third safety or is it a third corner? Okay, well if you have all your corners are in or all of your safeties in, how do you feel about 4 and 5? So that's really the pause that we have right now. We've really only introduced nickel for a day. Today, nickel is like an hour and a half old, so just because we want to have the flexibility to be able to go to it, but it's still, we still really have to find out by next Saturday really what we feel like we can do best, and that will change week in, week out, because we do have guys. Romeo Finley's going to be a much better player in November than he certainly is going to be in September, but so is Zach McLeod. So that's a challenge in terms of how we try to fit our best personnel in the field.
Does Adrian's development allow you to have the option of putting Corn inside on like third and long in situations like that?
Yeah, it just allows. It's the same conversation. If we didn't have him, you'd want to make multiple corners, and try and put them everywhere. So I think having a guy like that, along with Redwine, at least you have some ability that you felt like you'd play a 3-corner defense. But the issue again comes into how long. Situationally on third down, okay, yeah, that might make some sense, but that's where the challenge comes within our depth. You're never going to make it through a season without a defensive back missing a game for something.
Right.
And so that's where it gets a little bit sketchy.
Man, if you need a fourth defensive end, obviously we're not sure about AQM status. Is there anyone among the 3 freshman defensive linemen, Patchen coming back, do you feel comfortable putting in a game if you need the 5th defensive end to sort of become a 4th defensive end?
Our mentality right now is we're getting all those guys ready to play. We like where Scott was going before he got hurt, and we're certainly rooting hard for his recovery. But in terms of Pat and Joe, we are getting them game ready. They've got to get in, they've got to get snaps. Because the same thing, these guys understand, things change so fast during the season, and all of a sudden injury reshuffles the deck, and you thought, well gosh, I'm 5th in line. That line can get short in an awful hurry. So the neat thing about two-a-days and the way that Coach Rick has run his camp, really since we've been here in spring, is we've repped everybody. We look at all of our players on defense, and they're all tools in the toolbox, and we've been getting every one of them game ready. We want to sub in a lot of guys anyway defensively. So now the issue is how much can we use of them? But it's not like we've been, well, you're a freshman, so you've been, in the shallow end of the pool. You know what I mean? Not really learning the stuff. They've been getting the same amount of coaching as Chad Thomas and all the older guys. So they have to feel the urgency of like, gosh, these coaches are actually crazy enough to put me in the game, and I got to know what to do.
And with Bethel and Joe Jackson, have they shown anything? I know obviously it's hard to tell game ready off practices, but have they shown a tangible skill that makes you feel like they should be able to do this well if we put them on the field September 3rd?
You're speaking of Joe and Pat?
Exactly, the two
yeah,
freshmen.
but both those guys have flashed and made a play. They both have skills in terms of being good against the run in the past. The difference is that a game is coming now, and just to be able to play at game speed. Young guys want to go out there and just look around and watch, and will the moment be too big for them? That's a hard part with freshmen. And we obviously got a whole truckload of them.
Last question for Coach
Diaz. Linebacker position. You might have 3 freshmen out there on game day. I want to know. We know what Jermaine can do. We know. How about Zach McLeod and maybe is it C.J. Perry also playing strong side?
Yeah.
Can you talk about each one of those guys? And also I wanted to ask you about Pinckney in that race.
Well, all those guys. Zach is a runner and hitter. He might be as hard of a hitter as anybody we have, maybe on the whole defense. He's learning the discipline of playing linebacker, you know what I mean, of getting his eyes in the right place and being able to transition from run to pass. But because he's tough, we'll always have a place for him. Zach McLeod is tough. He's established that in the locker room. Everybody knows that he's one of our big bangers on our defense. Now he's got to make sure he's hitting the right guy. You know, it can't be ready, fire, aim. CJ's been in the program a little bit longer. CJ has the athleticism to play out there. The question with him is the battle between those two has been, again, for both of them, learning in the new scheme, and so the tiebreaker is going to be the physicality, you know, and it's going to be the toughness, you know what I mean, and that's right now where Zach noses it, but you see good things from both of those guys, you see bad things from both, which is common for inexperienced players. And then Pinckney, it's been good to get him back into the equation. This past week, him and Gordo sort of rolled back and forth with the ones. We have not made a decision with those two guys, but again, what he provides is you know, what you're looking for, that will linebacker, which is that guy that chases the play down, has a great instinct for slipping through gaps, you know, fitting into the backfield, making plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So it's been a welcome sight to get him back into the rotation.
Manny, real quick, what did you like and didn't like about the run defense in the scrimmage?
When, you know, our one defense, I think for our math, we had like 2.09 a carry. You know what I mean? So overall, that was solid. What I felt like we turned down is I felt we turned down some tackles for losses. You know, there are plays to me that are 3-yard gains, which statistically is a great run. It's a good run play, good run defense. Where we might have had a guy in the backfield had we all, you know, maybe not stopped our feet on contact or something. And the difference in terms of game structure, what 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 12 does to 2nd and 7, it changes an offensive dynamic, changes the mentality, makes 3rd down such a different animal. So I would say some of those things are the things we're showing our players in terms of really trying to you know, again, to create that knockback, to fill our gaps and be more aggressive, and then guys wanting to get off blocks and get to the ball, multiple gang tackles, a lot of assists, those type of things. So again, you couldn't grade it poorly because of what the numbers were, but our standard of how many, you know, hits we want to make behind the line of scrimmage wasn't as good as it could have been.